Hey, Logan.
Hey Miriam, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. I'm excited. I'm ready to go.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being a part of Harvest at Home. We're really, really excited about this year's event. Pretty stoked to have you as our chef.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited, and we are at home, if you can't tell.
We are definitely at home for sure. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what we're doing for the Harvest at Home meal.
Well, I think the best way to put it is we're honoring our local agricultural area and our farmers. I mean, that's really what the inspiration is and what the menu and the recipes are based off of. It's highlighting the seasonality of fall through the lens of the crops that our farmers are growing right now. So that box you have behind you, I think all of our wonderful guests are going to be having a box like that, just loaded down with incredible products from our farms, from Cuisine, from the Nine Bean Rose Bakery, from Grocer's Daughter's Chocolate. So, it's full on. And so this video is the opportunity to dive in and help guide you through the process of cooking everything up.
Nice. So folks, if they want to make the harvest meal at home, you can order your Harvest at Home farm box on our website, groundworkcenter.org/harvest. And the farm box is $100. And it includes everything that you'll need to make the harvest meal, all of the fresh produce, and also most of the pantry items. I think that the only thing that we're asking folks to have at home is cooking oil, a little bit of salt, and a little bit of freshly ground black pepper. So everything else, I believe, is coming in the box.
We're trying to, as much as possible, make this as easy as possible. So you can just focus on having fun in the kitchen. Hopefully you have a crew of 1 to 4 people in there to help you out, and many hands make light work. So we're hopeful that we can really bring the joy of cooking into your home for Harvest at Home.
Right. And you mentioned some helpful hands, but really the recipes that you've written, Logan, are super easy to follow along with. And even the most timid of home chef will be able to prepare these meals. So I'm really excited to walk through this recipe with you. What are we making first?
Well, we figured we'd go ahead and get started on salad. It's pretty easy to knock out. So we're breaking these videos into the separate kind of courses, if you will. So it's really important to think through like what you want to do first, timing wise. So everything kind of is perfectly hot, fresh, etc. when you go to eat your meal. So one of the things we'd like to get out of the way first is the salad dressing, because it actually is beneficial to let this sit and let the flavor absorb. So we're going to start with our excellent Cuisine products, the olive oils and vinegars that we have. It should be noted that everybody's going to be getting the perfect little 4-ounce bottles. We're working with slightly larger ones, but no problem. So the best thing to do for
folks are going to get this size olive oil in their boxes, right?
Yeah.
So exactly. We'll have 4 bottles of Cuisine's product in each box, 2 olive oils and 2 vinegars, and you'll be using those throughout the harvest meal.
Yes, absolutely. So we're going to focus on the select olive oil and the honey, the barrel-aged honey vinegar, the collaboration with Ironfish for the salad dressing. If you are working with one of the 4-ounce bottles of olive oil, you can go ahead and put the entire bottle of olive oil right into the mason jar. If you have a mason jar, I recommend it for the salad dressing. A measuring cup or even a mixing bowl is going to work. A mason jar with a nice lid is perfect, because then you can just shake it. It's self-contained. It's clean and easy. You don't have to worry about oil going everywhere, which is something that I run into constantly. So if you don't have the small bottles of olive oil and say you're just working off of a shopping list, the measurements are about a half a cup of olive oil to a quarter cup of the honey vinegar. So just roughly, and this is definitely a salad dressing that is to taste. Some people like a little bit more acidity. Start with those measurements. If you're working with a small bottle of your the vinegar, I would just pour in half of it. So half of that 4-ounce bottle of vinegar. So the full bottle of olive oil, or about a half cup, and then a quarter cup, or about half the bottle of vinegar.
Okay.
And I'm
so
over here not
pouring
using
in-
any measurements.
Well, I am following the recipe. So I just poured in 4 ounces of the Coratina olive oil, and then I'm going to do 2 ounces to start of the barrel-aged honey vinegar.
Yes, perfect. That's exactly right.
Okay, just wanted to make sure I was tracking you correctly. There we go.
Yep, so 1 part vinegar to 2 parts olive oil is a really easy way of looking at it. And again, for instance, if you didn't even have like a measurement tool of any sort in your kitchen, you could just eyeball it, right? You could dump the whole bottle of olive oil in there and just pour the vinegar until you see it about halfway with the olive oil. So all different measurement tools.
All right.
And then, so the recipe is going to call for Dijon mustard. Any mustard is going to work. If you have like stone ground, even yellow, Dijon mustard, I think sings really well with the honey vinegar that we have. So we're looking for a tablespoon of Dijon mustard. If you want to eyeball it, if you want to pour it right into a measuring, a tablespoon, either one works.
Okay. So I'm adding my Dijon mustard to my little lidded container here. I couldn't find my salad dressing shaking jar. I think it's probably in the fridge with some dressing in it, but I've got a little Pyrex with a snap-on lid, so that's what we're using today. I'm adding the oil and vinegar to that. So.
And then the final 2 ingredients, we want to keep the salad dressing super simple, so we're just looking to add a little bit of fresh oregano. So
this oregano will also be in our firm box, correct?
It will be, yes.
All right. So here's some.
We're gonna have a bundle of fresh herbs in that farm box, and we're gonna kind of use it throughout the meal. So I would say to start, I would use about 1 full little branch of oregano, so something like that, or a couple of small ones.
Okay.
And you just want to take the little leaves. It is a little tedious, but take the little leaves right off of the stem. If we happen to have oregano where the leaves are pretty small, you can go ahead and put it right into the dressing. If we happen to have oregano where the leaves are a little bigger, it's best to probably put them onto your cutting board and give them a little rough chop, just so we don't have really big pieces of oregano in the salad dressing. So just make a judgment call. And if you do a little chopping on it, just kind of take your knife and just do a couple of times over real quick. Just looking for a little mincing on the oregano. And one of the nice things about chopping it is you're already going to start to release the flavor of the oregano. So you get
right.
2 benefits at once.
This smells amazing. I don't often work with fresh oregano. It's not one of the herbs that I usually grab fresh. So this is a real treat, being able to use this fresh, super fragrant oregano.
Yeah, the aromatics of fresh herbs is a real treat. And I think once you kind of get used to working with them, you'll not want to go back, or as much as possible, at least.
Right, it makes me want to have a little windowsill garden of herbs all year round.
There you go. See, so now we have our oil, vinegar, mustard, and oregano, and then just a couple dashes of salt. I would say measurement-wise, perhaps start at about a half a teaspoon. And a nice fine sea salt, a bigger, flakier sea salt is okay as well. Just remember that, the bigger the flake, the more time it's going to take to dissolve. So if you're forgot about making the salad dressing, you're doing it last minute, maybe use a finer sea salt so it dissolves a little quicker.
That's great advice. I had never thought of that. I'm using some kosher salt. That's my go-to.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Kosher salt is going to work great. And so once all of the ingredients are in your whatever vessel you're using. So if you got something that you're able to seal, you can go ahead and seal it really nice and tight and just start shaking it like you would like a cocktail, for instance. If you're using a measuring cup or bowl or something, maybe use a whisk or a fork, a spoon, something just and really what you're looking for. This is when you want to have music.
I haven't tested this container yet. I'm a little nervous. Feels a little bit like an experiment, but so far it's working.
Yeah, definitely make sure you seal whatever vessel you have so you don't have to start repainting your kitchen walls afterwards. But good time to turn on music and start having fun in the kitchen. What you're looking for though is to make sure that the mustard has dissolved. You know, when it went in, it was probably a little chunkier. So just making sure that you don't see any big old clumps of mustard. That's probably a good sign. It's well shaken, well stirred, whatever you're doing. And then the important thing is to just let it sit. I think the natural inclination would be to try it, but the oregano and the salt still haven't fully integrated, especially the oregano. So it takes a little while for that to happen. So just be mindful of that. Just let it rest and come back in 15 minutes or so and give it a taste. And if you need to adjust the vinegar, salt, or if you're thinking it might need some more oregano, just go ahead and throw that in there. But this is a pretty simple, foolproof salad dressing right here. All right, so we're going to start to move on to the actual salad. So we have our greens that we're putting into the salad, and then we have our root vegetables and our apples. So the protocol with our hearty veg and fruit, if you will, is we're just going to grate it up. So super simple, any type of grater. If you have a food processor with a grater attachment, that works as well. I have here just kind of your typical multifunctional grater. So doesn't matter where you start. We'll go ahead and start with the apples. One thing to be aware of with your apples is that they're really juicy. So anticipate juice going everywhere.
Okay. So I've got in my farm box a fairly large apple. So I'm just using one apple, but it looked like you might have had two smaller ones. Is that right?
Yeah. So, obviously apple sizes can vary greatly. So whether you got one or two in your box, use as many as you got in there. Don't worry about peeling it. I'm not even going to worry about cutting mine. What I need to do is take it right to the grater and just kind of rotate the sides.
Okay. And I'm going to do a little bit of cheating because I have my food processor back here with my grater attachment. So I'm going to save some time and use that.
Perfect. And then once your apples are grated, if you're, for instance, on a cutting board or something, you'll notice how much juice there is. So when you go to pick it up, just kind of clump it together, maybe give it a light squeeze and release a little bit of that liquid just so you don't have too much in your bowl. But also don't worry about wringing it out so much because, that's really delicious apple juice and it'll actually add great flavor to the salad, but also you're kind of finding the balance between being too soaking wet with juice and too dry, if you will.
Yeah, I think I'll probably set this aside for a little bit of a treat later, some freshly squeezed apple juice.
Yeah, exactly. If you can corral it in a way, or if you just want to lick your cutting board, I'm not saying to be opposed.
Big little apple shot there.
Oh, look at that. Beautiful. See, that's just a treat as you cook. That's like a reward for all the work you're putting into this. So when it comes to carrots, once again, don't peel them. I mean, if there happens to be a spot in particular that looks not good to you, you can always just cut it off. But I fully suspect we'll be getting beautiful carrots. Just go ahead and take the top off. But otherwise, don't worry about cleaning them up too much. And again, we're just going to be grating these carrots. So you got your food processor, I have my grater. So I'll get the arm workout and you'll get a higher electricity bill.
Yeah, and I'll get a lot more dishes.
And it should also be noted that because we're just doing this, the two of us, if you notice like the portions might be a little smaller or might be different than what you're working with, we're just kind of doing this as a demo. We're making sure that that farm box will feed 4 people. So just a quick note in there, if you take notice of certain portions looking a little different than potentially what you're working with, or maybe you got 2 farm boxes because you got 8 people. So just to be aware.
Right. So the farm boxes are packed with everything that you'll need to make the meal. And it's really meant to serve 4 very satisfying full meals. So if you've got 2 people in your household, that's awesome. You've got leftovers. If you've got 6 people in your household, you could totally opt to buy 2 farm boxes, and we'll have those ready for you to pick up at the farmers market downtown Traverse City on October 10th.
Worst case scenario, you might have some leftovers. You might have lunch the next day. So, and that's obviously not a bad thing. So one of the beautiful things about working with local farms is seasonality. We're going to have purple daikon radish and watermelon radish for you in the farm boxes. Those aren't quite in season just yet as we're recording the video. So in replace of the watermelon radishes that you'll be having, which are stunningly beautiful, we're just using some Easter radish. But when you have that watermelon radish in your farm box, same protocol, you're just going to grate it up. And it's a prime example of, if you aren't participating in the CSA share and you're doing this more remotely, any type of radish is really going to work. Easter radishes are a great choice. And certainly totally usable in this salad.
My Easter radishes are just a tiny bit sandy, so I'm going to give them a quick rinse off.
Yes, always be mindful. You don't want a bunch of grittiness in your salad.
So I'm just cutting the tops and tails off of my little Easter radishes here.
And anytime there is going to be a lull in us talking, I'm going to remind you that it's a great idea to clean up as you go. We are working on multiple dishes and various different utensils and a lot of things that will be used in your kitchen, potentially a lot more than you're used to. So to not have the typical reaction of coming in after eating dinner and seeing a disastrous kitchen, just clean up as you go. And I think you'll enjoy the whole experience a lot more. It's amazing how much time is saved clean up as you go. Things don't get crusty and et cetera. So just a quick reminder about that.
That's really great advice. And I mean, maybe this isn't how you do things in your kitchen, but I mean, I'm not going to wash or even rinse my food processor in between everything that I'm grating in there right now. You know, I've got the apples, the carrots and the radishes are all going to be grated in my food processor. and they're all going into the same dish. So I'm not really worried about rinsing it out in between steps.
Yeah, absolutely. Same thing with just using your hand grater. Definitely don't need to worry about in between use. All these ingredients are being combined. So absolutely the right call there.
All right, I'm gonna throw my little Easter radishes into my food processor. All right, so I'm just adding all of my ingredients that we just grated into a small mixing bowl. We've got the apples, the carrots, and now I'm adding our radish.
Absolutely. And one of my favorite things about this kind of vegetable and fruit combo is you're going to look down at it and you're going to see fall colors. Here at Planet Cuisine, we often talk about eating the rainbow, and this is a great example. Not only is this going to be a delicious combination, but it's really representative of the season we're in and the harvest gathering that we're celebrating. And so with clean hands or a spoon, just go ahead and mix the 3 grated components together. That's all you're looking to do, and then you can just let them sit in the bowl. You just want to make sure the 3 are integrated so you get a little bit in every bite you take.
Beautiful. I love these colors. All right, Logan.
All right. So now we're just going to move on to our greens. So we have the beautiful spring mix. We have some arugula, and we have baby kale. Those are the 3 things you're going to be looking for in your farm box to finish off the salad. And the spring mix, we're not going to really have to worry about doing too much to it. So we're focusing on the kale first and then the arugula. All right, so we have our baby kale, this beautiful kale, and you'll notice that there are some stems on here. And again, because it's baby, it's totally manageable, but I do think it's a good idea to just run your knife over the baby kale just a couple of times. So kind of get it into a clump on a cutting board and just do a once over on the baby kale. Just, I don't know, count to 10 on the chops. You don't have to get too aggressive with it because the next thing we're going to do with the kale actually also helps kind of break down the hearty kind of toughness of kale. So just a few chops with the knife to get it a little smaller than what it's currently at.
Okay, so you're suggesting that I should cut off the stems. I know I have some anti-STEM folks in my household. That doesn't mean anti-science, technology, engineering, and math. Anti-baby kale stems.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm just picking off the stems because I know that members of my household would prefer that.
If you want to take off the stems, absolutely. It's one of those things that also promotes some healthy chewing practices. This salad is a little bit on the heartier side. So, it's one of those things you just be a little bit more mindful in your eating practices when you go and taking your time to enjoy. You're going to munch on this a little bit more than just like your typical, leafy green salad. The kale and then also the radishes and carrots add that heartiness. And we have a really great dressing that kind of cuts through that. So it is one of those things where you just got to chew your food a little bit. So we have our. Okay.
I'll tell them to just chew a little longer.
Exactly. That's right. You're the chef of the household. So, you gotta be a little strict with the folks in your household and just be like, this is the way it was designed to be.
That's for dinner. Yep.
But so you want to get the kale chopped. If you do destem it, that's totally fine. If those folks in your house that don't like stems, just give them the task of destemming the kale because it is a process. like it. It'll take a minute.
Yeah, I'm still working on
we
it.
want to
You
get
go right ahead.
we want to get the kale, once it's been lightly chopped, into a mixing bowl. And what we're going to do is we're just going to sprinkle a little bit of sea salt. A fine sea salt is preferable to a bigger, flakier one. And we're just doing a couple, I would say like 3 pinches of salt. But what we're going to do now is massage the kale. And what we're doing by massaging the kale is we're actually breaking down the kind of fiber that exists in the kale, and we're softening it up. So I don't think there's many people who enjoy just eating a piece of kale by itself or without anything on it. So by adding the salt, we're breaking down the kale. So it's a little bit more easier to chew. And by adding the salt, we're actually, we're providing a little saltiness to the kale too, which for those who might not really love just your raw greens, it's going to make it that much more enjoyable. And again, this is going to be mixed in with apples and carrots, radishes, and a very, very tasty dressing. So don't think of it as you're just going to be eating a bunch of kale. But this is a great little technique when you're working with kale, is to massage it down, and it really does enhance the flavor and the enjoyment of eating it. And I know you're still working on de-stemming over there, so I think I'm gonna go like make myself a cup of coffee, sit outside, read a book.
It's great advice to make sure that the person who doesn't like stems should be the one de-stemming.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. So we have our kale. We got it massaged down with salt, and so now we're just gonna take this arugula. And once again, I would recommend just doing a light chop with the arugula. This is a little big, and it can be a mouthful sometimes. The arugula tends to be a little spicier. Once again, just get on your cutting board and just do, again, just a few chops. You don't need to go small with this. We're going to mix it in with the kale, so it'll break down a little bit. So
okay, so chops. Just a couple rough chops just to break it down in size just a little bit. Okay.
Just to get a little bit. And then what we'll do is we're just going to lightly mix it in with the kale. Don't massage it aggressively like we did with the kale. Just kind of integrate it in to the kale though, so the two of them mix together. So this is going to be our mixture of arugula and kale. We're going to keep this separate from the salad mix. So at the end of the day, what we'll have is we'll have 3 separate bowls and or containers, whatever you're using. So we'll have our carrot, radish, apple mix. We'll have our beautiful kale and arugula with a little bit of that salt. And then we'll have our spring mix. And this is what I would do, how I would recommend keeping it when it comes time to serve it. The reason being is if we were to combine all of these, especially the carrot mixture, it has a lot of liquid. And so if we don't end up eating all of it, it's going to go it's going to go bad a lot quicker in our fridge. So by keeping them separate, we're starving off and keeping them fresh for longer period of time if we don't end up eating them. Same principle as like not dressing all of the salad you're going to use. I just always recommend that because I've been in so many situations where I see somebody dress a big old salad and then half of it gets eaten and then like, well, we're not going to keep that. So
right. Okay. So you're suggesting that by keeping the apple, carrot, radish mix separate from the kale and arugula and separate from the spring mix, will keep all of these ingredients fresher for longer.
Yeah, exactly right. And what's cool is now we're going to get to the fun part of plating this salad up. And if you want to kind of treat this like you're a chef in a restaurant, we like to keep our components separate and really build plates, and it looks that much more beautiful as well. So if you have some sort of bowl that you want to use for the salad, we can kind of just demo up what this simple but delicious and beautiful salad is going to look like. I would recommend starting with a little bit of the spring mix and putting it down. If you see some big pieces, you can always break it up as you go, or whoever was on de-stemming kale can also take that test. So we're going to start with a base of spring mix, and Then what I would suggest is going with a little bit of your kale and arugula, and just be mindful that it is going to be a little spicier and perhaps a little bitter for some folks. So maybe like half of the amount of spring mix, put the arugula and kale in there, unless you like that. You know, this is one of those things, right? Build your own salad at this point.
Yeah, so this really allows your guests or your family members or whoever is coming over and enjoying this meal with you, it allows them to kind of build their own salad to their own desires.
Exactly. I love the word your own desires. I really try to get away from like the one size fits all, one flavor thing fits all, you know, let people have some fun and creativity and really kind of build what they want. Now, if somebody just tries to take this mixture and avoid the greens, that's when you can be like, no, you got to eat your greens. Because the truth of the matter,
you got to try something a little adventurous here. So this is a good opportunity for everybody to try something new.
That's right. I mean, that's exactly right. And the whole idea with these recipes is to create recipes where something like kale and arugula ends up being really delicious and you enjoy it, right? So we're combining and working in textures and flavors that make sure you're having a really balanced, delicious menu item, whatever it might be. So that's really the thought and process went into it for that reason. So to finish it off, let's go ahead and add a little bit of this beautiful orange-red color here.
So when we're serving these to guests, maybe something like a pair of tongs or something for topping. I'm assuming you're using clean hands to serve yourself there.
Or if folks are serving, if you're just one person, that's a different story. But yeah, tongs are great. You can use a fork, whatever might work. This is my salad, so my hands are all up in it. Party of one over here right now.
Right.
And then we have our salad dressing. And so all we're going to do is just however much dressing you want on your salad, just go ahead and spoon it on, pour it on, depending on the vessel you have. Make sure the salad dressing is well shaken. That's really important. The vinegar and mustard is liable to go towards the bottom, so something to keep in mind. Shake it up really well, and if you're using a spoon from the bottom up. And there you go. I mean, that's our first course. That's our fall harvest salad, really honoring the crops coming in, and it's going to be full of flavor. You're going to get the sweetness from the dressing, but also the carrots and apple. You get some nice acidity from the vinegar, spiciness from the radish and arugula. So there's just a lot going on in there. Great texture as well, and I think pretty simple. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this came together really fast. It looks beautiful. We've got those fresh herbs in there, the beautiful spicy arugula as well. I love that. Now, what if somebody wanted to add something a little crunchy on top, or maybe a little extra sweetness? Could like nuts and seeds work in this, or maybe something like some dried fruit? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's just a good reminder and thing to keep in mind, right? We wanted to make these kind of baseline recipes that are totally delicious and easy to create, but also that you can kind of put your own creative twist to. So dried cherries or cranberries, some seasoned nuts, some toasted walnuts or pumpkin seeds would be amazing. So you can go a million different directions once you have this baseline. So yeah, take this out, and if there are certain things you love or you have lying around that you're like, oh, that might work, then toss them on there.
Awesome. Well, I just added some Michigan dried cherries on top of mine. So honoring that local fall food even further. Awesome. Well, thank you, Loghan, for walking us through this Michigan farm fall salad here. This is our first course of our Harvest at Home meal. And folks can find all of the recipes for the harvest meal on our website, groundworkcenter.org/harvest. That's also where you can go to purchase your farm box for pre-order, and those will be available for pickup on October 10th at the Sarah Hardy Farmers Market. So I just want to thank our sponsors. Harvest Solar is our providing sponsor this year for Harvest. And then we also have Taste the Local Difference and Cuisine's Oils and Vinegars supporting us. And a big thank you to our certified local food sponsors, DoThe22.com, Oriana Community Co-op, MI Farm Co-op, Planted Cuisine. So when you are pre-ordering your Harvest at Home farm box, you also have the choice to add on a couple bottles of wine. We've got some really beautiful sparkling white wine from Mobby Winery, and we've got a really nice Michigan red from Big Little Winery. So those are also available to pre-order and pick up when you pick up your farm box. So thank you, Loghan, so much for making this meal with me.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is the one of a few courses we're doing, and it's a great kickoff video for leading you through this process of the Harvest at Home experience. It's been a blast, and glad it turned out as well as it did over here.
Awesome. So folks should tune into our next video where we're going to be making the side. Do you want to do a quick little preview of that without giving away too much, Loghan?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the side is going to be one of the most comforting, delicious things you've had in a while. We're going to whip up some potato wedges. We have the 9-bean roast bread that we're going to elevate a little bit. And we're going to get really creative with an aioli sauce that I'm really excited about. So definitely tune in for the side video.
Awesome. Don't give away too much. All right, folks, we'll see you on our next video.